In this video, I'm going to show you how average, ordinary, shy people can become rock stars and gurus in front of the camera.
Hi, I'm Nils McQuarrie. I've been shooting video for 15 years and marketing for the last 5. I'm going to show you how to be confident on camera and how to quickly make videos that work. Get ready to learn.
So how does that even happen? Like, how does some shy, introverted, tortured artist get in front of the camera or even on stage in front of tens of thousands of people and shine like the sun? Just become this amazing human being. Or get in front of a crowd and just become the guru that has the answer to everybody's problems. Of course, I'm overstating it, but that's what it feels like a little bit. These people get on stage and we're just amazed by what they're doing, they're performing, and it seems like they're doing it effortlessly. In fact, I remember one time I had seen a band, never saw them before, never even knew who they were, never heard of them. And as they took the stage, there was something about the lead singer that I could not take my eyes off him. He hadn't even opened his mouth yet. The band hadn't started. And by the way, the whole band was walking on, but only the lead singer caught my attention. And I remember looking, going, who is that? Wouldn't that be cool if you could do that? Like, if you could grab someone's attention before you even open your mouth. That stage presence, when you go up, it's the X factor, right? You get on stage and you just don't know what it is, but there's something about that person that I just can't take my eyes off them, and I'm so curious about what they're gonna do next. And they have my attention, and I'm getting value, and I'm just enraptured. So, we think that those skills only belong to the outgoing, the people who are born that way. They just naturally command attention. Well, guess what? I wasn't born like that, and it's very possible that you weren't either. So how can we do that? How can we actually transform from someone who is petrified and terrified of getting on camera to someone who not only feels comfortable, overcomes their fear, not only is good, but actually are at their very best on camera? So what I'm saying is, you normal life, not as good as you when you're on camera. Is that possible? Not only is it possible, I'm going to tell you how you can do that. Because I'm going to tell you how I did it. And it was really through a series of circumstances that built up to a moment where I had to figure this out. And then I'm going to share something really, really exciting toward the end that can help you as well. So make sure you stay to the end. When it started, I shared before in the earlier video about how I had a dream to be a rock star, to get on stage. I was 6 jumping on the bed, and it just, at that age, we're very impressionable, right? So I was an impressionable 6-year-old exposed to Van Halen and David Lee Roth jumping on stage. Shaped my life. So here I am, in my early 20s, still shaped by that, discovering that I have massive stage fright, massive crippling stage fright, and I'm not sure how to handle it. So, to revisit the story, I'm standing there, the stage is right here. I have realized that I have stage fright. I thought that maybe drinking would help me. It at least helped me get on the stage, but it didn't help me put on a good show. A lot of times when I started off trying to get on camera or trying to get on stage, I did weird things to try and get attention or be interesting, because I was just so convinced that I was such a boring person and that who would ever want to watch me? Sound familiar? So I would do strange things, and it didn't work. Let's just put it that way. It didn't work. So despite my efforts, we still grew. People liked the music. It would come, and it was slowly growing. Some friends would come, those friends told their friends, those friends told their friends, and we got bigger and bigger and bigger until this fateful show when they actually took out 2 big cameras to film us. And the cameras for me was too much. So there I was. I'm standing there backstage. I'm looking at the stage, realizing that I'm about to lose my dream. I make a feeble attempt to go into the crowd to try and talk to someone to prove to myself that I can do this. If I'm the rock star, I've got to be able to have a conversation with somebody else, right? So, complete failure. I can't do it. And this is where we get to the point where I'm sitting. I return back, dejected, failure. I didn't make it. I'm feeling horrible, like I'm looking at things thinking, wow, I'm really going to lose my dream. This thing that at this point I've had for almost 20 years, not even for a good reason, just because I'm scared. I'm going to lose that. So I'm looking at the situation. I'm trying to figure it out. What do I do? I can't do it, but I have to do it. But I can't. I'm too scared. You have to be able to get on stage, but I'm too scared to. And in that moment, I realized, you know what, it's true. I am too scared. I can't get on the stage and do what I want to do because I'm too scared. But I bet Seth Sharp can. Who's Seth Sharp? Let me backtrack a little bit. I mentioned that I discovered this by a series of circumstances that I just so happened to find myself in. I think it set me up for discovering this, along with the intense pressure and my intense desire to be able to figure this out. But among the bands, because at this point I had done several different bands. Among the bands that I had done, one of them was called the Sharpies, right? So who was the Sharpies? The Sharpies was the name of a band that we chose. It was actually named after a gang in southern Australia called the Sharpies. One of my favorite pieces of information about the Sharpies was, I believe they started the mullet. They're the precursors of the mullet. Melbourne, Australia, early 70s. Good going, guys. So I just love that. We chose not to wear mullets, but we could have. It probably would have been fun. Anywho, the Sharpies had different names. It was a gang, right? That makes sense. So we also took on different names, and we all had the last name of Sharp. So I was Seth Sharp. The bassist had their own name. The drummer had his own name. It was just 3 of us. And we created this story. We're brothers. We were just being silly. We didn't take it too serious. And that's one of the reasons why it worked. And as I'm standing back there, I realize this character that I had created, Seth Sharp, was a little bit different than Nils McQuarrie, right? I was the classic tortured artist. I took everything super serious. I was very deep thinking, introspectful, very serious young man, very tortured. And those words just don't describe a rock star, right? When I think of a rock star, I think of so much confidence just oozing and dripping off your body. They can do nothing, and they just ooze confidence. It's actually very difficult for me to think of someone who projects more confidence than a rock star. Even rappers, they usually don't project confidence. They project, I would say they project attitude. Or like Ice-T, that dude's straight up mad, just that look on his face. Rock stars, a lot of them, especially from the 80s, with all that hair, I mean, look at how they looked, and they were still so confident. That is a lot of confidence. So that was the level that I needed to get to, and I wasn't that way. So as I sat there and I'm weighing this, realizing I can't do it, I think, you know what, I can't, but I bet Seth Sharp can. And very quickly, I put together a couple of things of who Seth Sharp was. Who is he? What about him makes him that way? I literally had minutes. I didn't have an hour to put this together. We were going on about 10 minutes. In a few minutes, I just put it together and I went on stage. And as I mentioned in the previous video, amazing. It was so, so powerful. And best show we ever had. In fact, at the end of the show, one of the other band members came walking to the front of the stage with a slow clap. Just, that doesn't happen. Knocked out by our show. And afterwards, what do you think happened? Afterwards, people started, we were already growing, but now it really got fueled. So people started coming up saying, who are you again? What was your name? What's your website? Do you have music? Do you have t-shirts? All of these questions started coming in. Now, we never had a bad show after that, ever. And I never worried about it because I knew even we could have every single thing you can imagine go wrong, and I knew we could do a great show. That is powerful. So what did that mean for us once we were doing that? Now that I could get on camera and even on stages, the bigger the stage, the easier it was. Wouldn't that be cool? If, like, the bigger the stage, the better you were? Some of the things that happened to us following that was when we would now go out and play, we played with bigger bands. We played with internationally touring bands you've heard of. And oftentimes, at the end of the show, everybody would be at the Sharpies table. They'd be talking to us, because we knocked them out. We were great. And not gonna lie, some bands didn't like that much. I remember, I don't know how much you know about radio, but radio is very fickle. Not just anybody can come get on radio. We would have radio stations, in one case, reach out to us. In one case, we didn't respond because our email was broken. And they literally started announcing on the radio that we'd be playing a show, even though they had never spoken to us, in hopes that someone would hear it and news would get to us. And of course it did. We played the show, thousands of people, amazing. But that's what happens when you get really good on camera. Can you imagine that? Right now, whatever you're doing, you're trying to make things happen on your end, and as you should. That's your job. But when you get really good and you really connect with people on the other side, the universe, if you want to call it that, starts working in your favor. People start seeing it, connecting, and they want some of that. I don't know what it is, but it's good and they want some of it. And that's the best thing ever. That's amazing. Things start happening for you. So, by doing that, by using this very simple tool, and it goes by a number of different names. And I wasn't even sure what to call it. This was just my secret that when I discovered it, I told nobody. Nobody. I wasn't going to share this. This was my secret sauce thing that I figured out. I wasn't going to share that with anybody else. No. So I just kept it to myself. But of course, I went on from there to, after the band did amazing, I had a blast, and then I wanted to get into movies. And as I did that, you'd think that I would just, now that I had already learned how to become great in front of the camera on the stage, you'd think that now I can just get in front of any camera. That's not how it works. For some reason, our brain thinks that when you're off the stage doing something else, this is a whole different thing. Of course, it's not, but we think that. I've seen this with actresses as well. Actresses, even actors in the movies, right? They can be wonderful on stage or in front of that camera. I've literally seen some of them who can't do social media. They're too scared to talk to their phone. They can talk to a big camera because they're used to that. So in this, we're going to fix all of those. Any kind of camera, stage, we're going to make that possible for you. And I realized this was important because after I went through my whole phase of doing film, I did start out with short films. I did feature films. I went to film festivals. I then did commercials for UPS, for Campbell's, all these different places. And then I started getting into social. And I saw that so many people struggled in front of the camera. entrepreneurs who are making thousands, in some cases millions, had a tough time on camera. And especially the people who are just starting out. People like you, who they had this idea, they had this dream, and they knew that they needed to figure out video. But this, whew, so scary. And we know, like I mentioned in the previous video, logically we know that it's silly. There's nothing to be afraid of, but it's deeper than that because all of this is taking place in our subconscious. So I saw that there was a need to help people address this and try and fix it. So I thought, first thing I thought was, well, I know how I do it. I wonder if anybody else does it the way I do it. Who else does this? So I went online, I began studying, and I discovered that not only was no one else teaching this, but this is what David Bowie used when he went on stage. This is what Beyonce used when she went on stage. This is what Shakira used. I think we can both agree that David Bowie and Beyonce are two of the biggest stars in history. It would be pretty cool to learn how to do what they did. Because what they did not only can make you good on the camera, right? That's small potatoes. This can help you be good on the stage in front of tens of thousands of people. Now, most of us don't want to do that, right? But wouldn't it be nice to know if you have something that can do that, the camera, it becomes so easy. And that's what allows you to become your best on camera, but not only that, you can actually go beyond that. You can go and become somebody or something even more profound or amazing if you want. Now, it goes by many different names. One of them in the marketing community, I know Russell Brunson made this term popular, an attractive character. Becoming an attractive character in front of the camera that people just like. You're an interesting person. People are like, wow, they're interesting. I want to watch them. That X factor is another one you may have heard. Creating an alter ego. It's not just music. Cary Grant used this. Tony Robbins used this early on. He talks about it as well. He says, I created this Tony Robbins guy. Bo Jackson, the only person to ever make it to the top of two professional sports. He rose to the top of both football and baseball using exactly this, what I teach. Now that you understand that anybody, no matter how shy or introverted or awkward they may feel, can become a rock star or a guru in front of the camera, can you do it? I'll see you in the next video where I answer that question.